Hello, Earthlings. How are you? Welcome to the show. First Contact Radio is the place to be, and that's where you are at this moment. Let's start things off with our space weather. This is part of our cosmic weather report for the day. Space weather tells us that we have solar wind blowing at 363.3 kilometers per second. Our planetary K index right now is at a 1 and expected to be no more than a 2 within the next 24 hours, which means that our chances of M-class flares and solar or geomagnetic storm activity is very minimal. Nothing really in the way of any sort of near-Earth objects coming our way. And the last of our stories here is dealing with Comet Lovejoy. So if you're out there, it goes on to say that astronomer John Bartle urges observers especially to begin searching for Comet Lovejoy's bright tail projecting up out of the morning twilight beginning at dawn. The tails of some of the major sun-grazing comets have been extraordinarily bright. Comet Lovejoy's apparition has been so bizarre up to this point that it's difficult to anticipate just what might happen next. Alright, astrologically, we are moving from the sign of Sagittarius, the sun sign, Sagittarius. We're getting ready to move into Capricorn. We're not there yet. We're on the cusp. And what the cusp means is that it's the place between the two energies when they're meeting. We're leaving one energy, the energy of Jupiter, and now we're going into the phase of the energy of Capricorn. It's a little bit different, and tomorrow is that changing of the guard, so it's called on the cusp. The energy of Jupiter, as we've talked about, is about expansion. It's about issues of philosophy, higher education, things of this nature. Whereas Capricorn is a bit more practical and material in the way it does things and the way that energy works. So that's where we're moving into. We'll talk more about Capricorn when we actually get there. But needless to say, today we're in that in-between place. It's called on the cusp. Now, the moon today is also in between. And yesterday the moon was in Libra. Tomorrow the moon is going to be in Scorpio. However, today is that in-between phase where it's going from Libra to Scorpio. Libra is the balance, the scales. And Scorpio is all about death, transition, transformation, things of this nature. So we're getting ready to move into that phase tomorrow. So that's what's going on astrologically as far as our cosmic weather goes. Our current moon phase, as you can see here, it's almost back down to a new moon. It's 21% full, so in the next day or so it should be all the way back down to a new moon again. Just in time for our Christmas celebration, which, I know there's a lot of talk about Christmas, what it is, what it isn't. One of the things that Christmas has been recognized for, the winter solstice of the year, is all about the time when there's the returning of the light, because the light of the sun gets as dim as it's going to get, and we see the most amount of light during a daytime. And on the 21st, it starts going the other way. The light returns, and so the whole idea of the holiday season is about the light is returning, and that's what the big celebration is all about. And then all the other holidays, as they're put in there, all the other celebrations match in with that idea of the returning of the light. Alright, now our dream spell for today tells us that today is a red planetary dragon day. Red, it's the color of initiation. The planetary tone is the tone of manifestation. And the dragon is all about birth, beginning something new, nurturing something. And the guide for today is the moon, which in this case is all about universal water. So our phrase for today is, I perfect in order to nurture, producing being. I seal the input of birth with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of universal water. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, December 20th, 2011. So there you go. That's our cosmic weather for today. Let's get things started with our first story. The first thing we're going to do is Blueprint for Truth. I'm going to play their trailer to get things started here. Is that what I want to do now? Yeah, I'm going to do this to get things started. This is the Blueprint for Truth trailer. I know you've heard a lot about this already. Nonetheless, it's time for some more. Stay tuned. Here we go.
First, let the technical truths emerge. Then, if necessary, cope with the inevitable conspiracy and other questions. Controlled demolitions can be engineered in many different ways. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, claims they found no evidence for explosive demolition of the Twin Towers. Later, they admit that they never looked for it. Architects, engineers, scientists, and many others looked for it, and it was not hard to find. And we make some predictions, and we test those predictions and those assumptions with experiments. Objective, verifiable, repeatable experiments. We analyze the results and we draw conclusions.
I think I know an explosion when I hear it.
And it sounded like a countdown. And at the last few seconds, he took his hand off, and you heard 3, 2, 1, and he was just saying, "Just run for your life, just run for your life." And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds, you heard explosions.
For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
What was the report title? Final Report on the Collapse of the World Trade Center Twin Towers. Probably should have called it Final Report on the Initiation of Collapse. This all goes to support the hypothesis of controlled demolition. It's proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
All right, very good. That is Blueprint for Truth, the trailer. It's very important that you are aware of what's going on with 9/11. All right, before we go on to UFO news, I wanted to make sure that you had this information updated once again. You see, the things that go on with 9/11 brought in the Patriot Act, and then we have the other events which are going on in the world today, which have brought in the National Defense Authorization Act, which includes indefinite detention of American citizens as a possibility. Well, if we forget about our Constitution of the United States, then all of these things shall be in jeopardy. However, if we remember about our Constitution, we'll realize that these are the things that the establishment is trying to trample on. So let's take a moment here to look at the preamble of the Constitution of the United States. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, if you don't feel that the United States of America is a perfect union, if you do not feel that justice and in domestic tranquility is being ensured these days, if you do not feel that the common defense is being provided that is keeping all of us safe, or a general welfare, or the blessings of liberty, then you need to really stand up and do something about it. Best thing you can do is talk. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to those who don't understand, because the Constitution is a very important document we cannot let get away from us.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, here we go. This is the UFO News for today. First story comes to us from the Examiner, and this is Roger Marsh. Maryland witness reports watching upside-down cones. A Maryland witness reports watching and videotaping 7 orange lights hovering in the sky on December 18, 2011, viewed from Quarterfield Road in Severn, according to testimony from the Mutual UFO Witness Reporting Database. It looked like an upside-down cone with an orange dim light coming out of the bottom of it, changing in brightness slightly every few seconds, the witness stated. It stretched from the tree line up to high in the air. It looked very similar to the Big Dipper, 3 to 4 orange dots in a row and then 3, 4 in a diamond shape. Then the arrangement of the lights changed. After a few minutes, it slightly changed shape and was more in line again. I kept driving and managed to get it under, and it disappeared entirely and drove back the other direction, and they were visible again. The witness was able to shoot a very short piece of video of the objects. The video is available on the page. So let's take a look at this. Alright, we're going to find out exactly what the witness saw. This looks like it's a still photo, not a video. So there's the object in question right overhead. Alright, that's our first UFO report. Our second one comes to us from Lake Murray, South Carolina on the 18th of December. This footage of unknown objects was recorded in the sky above Lake Murray in South Carolina on the 18th. Let's take a look. We can already see that we've got 2 objects in the sky. Alright, looks like we got some advertising there, so let me go on to the next story here. Alright, our next story comes to us from Bray Point, Oregon. This is UFO sightings over Christmas increase at Brace Point scientific phenomena. Goes on to say that alright, hold on, we'll go back to that. Let me pause this. Okay. In light of statistics showing that 90% to 98% of all UFO sightings can readily be identified as scientific phenomena, there is growing urgency by the local UFO groups, such as the Oregon Watchers Group, to put their personal stories on record in hopes that perhaps it's not just scientific phenomena that people are seeing, but actual UFOs. In turn, there's a Christmas week phenomenon that can't be explained away with science. Errol lit a cigarette, inhaled deeply, hoping that the lingering red light would simply fly away, as have the other strange phenomena that seem to plague the coastal location at Brays Point. After all, this is the place that's attracted ancient Native Americans, and more recently, since the late 40s, it's become popular UFO sighting location. In turn, Errol's, whose body tightened, and then he took a deep breath, saying, "You never quite know for sure if aliens are walking among us. Just think about all the UFO sightings reported about alien encounters that have been destroyed. We're making sure that our stories are not in a secret file somewhere. That's our Christmas present to each other." It's a long article. I'm going to encourage you to read that. This story here comes to us. Let's see here. What's going to go on with this? Alright. These are the videos over Lake Murray. There we go. South Carolina, December 18th. Without the commercials. There we go. We got the 2 lights in the sky. Look like they're very high up there. There you have it, folks. That's our UFO sighting in South Carolina. Now, our very last story here is quite interesting and strange indeed. Now, this one, little disclaimer, not sure if this one is real or not. And the person who put this video out is not sure if this is real or not. So take a good look at it, see what you think. But you've heard the White House response that there aren't any evidence of extraterrestrials. You've heard that response. So in light of that response, if this is real, this is a bit bizarre. Here we go. Let me get this going for you here. You can listen to it and listen to what she has to say.
Hi. This year I received a Christmas card from the First Lady, Michelle Obama. It was so nice. I sent them a picture of my family, which is my beautiful 5 boys. A couple weeks later I get another Christmas card, and this time the card has the first family singing and a picture of their dog. So I sent them a picture of my family and us singing and our dog. Yesterday, December 16th, I received another Christmas card, and this time it had a picture of the White House. It is so beautiful, all lit up. So I was going to send them a picture of our house, but whoa, what is that in the sky? It is a spaceship. I look closer, and yep, it looks like a spaceship. I took a picture and sent it to my friends and family, and we are all in disbelief. Why would the White House have a spaceship over it? That is a no-fly zone. So how is this possible? I think there are no coincidences. I say this because my son is working on a documentary about how we are all related. He filmed interviews with medicine men, sun dancers, and many elders, and they talked about these visitors and why they are here and their message, which we have been saying for years, which is take care of our planet, no pipeline, no digging for oil, coal, or nuclear, anything. But our voice is ignored. Anyway, in this documentary, one elder we interviewed has written several books about these visitors. We also were followed by a spaceship. The sky was really clear, and we were driving from Pine Ridge to Porcupine, South Dakota, when this huge cloud came over our vehicle. The cloud was in the same shape of the spaceship on the Christmas card from the White House, but it was huge, and it hovered over our car. Then, after about 15 miles, it disappeared, and there was clear sky again. We asked the medicine man, and he said that they hide in clouds, but it's so obvious what they're doing, because the clouds are denser, and they look fake. My son will be loading some footage from his documentary on 3dtv.com, so stay tuned. 3dtv.com is a website you can load your videos and pictures up. It then converts them into three-dimensional videos and pictures so you can share with your friends and family. So I welcome your comments, but I remind you, why would the official Christmas card of the White House have even anything remotely looking like a spaceship over it? This is definitely the postcard that was sent in the mail. If you come close, you can see what looks like a flying object, and if you turn it just right, you'll actually see 2 shiny objects in the sky. There's no other like this, and it's not like it's fingernail polish, because you can feel fingernail polish. This you cannot feel. It's just if the light hits it. This is taken off my cell phone camera, and it's not very good, but if you're here in person, you can definitely see 2 shiny objects when you do this with the light. So I just want to update everybody, put this with my other video, don't panic, someone's playing a joke, it's very funny, it's a very clever joke. And on the back of the card it does say, may your holiday shine. So someone is doing saying the joke, and it's very clever. So I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and may your holidays shine. Okay, so I'm including the copy of the card. This is my copy, and you can very easily see the shiny object in the sky. This is the copy that was on eBay, and there is no shiny object in the sky at all. This is the back of my card. You can see the message, from our family to yours, may your holiday shine with the light of the season. Signatures, official stamp, zip code. I blocked off the address. And this is their card. Stamp, White House, from our family to yours. May your holiday shine with the light of the season. Signatures, zip code. Their address is blocked off too. So I welcome your comments. And may your holiday shine with the light of the season. Happy holidays.
All right, very bizarre indeed. Now, why would the White House say that there was no such evidence as extraterrestrials and send out a card, Christmas card, that has a UFO on it? If indeed this is a real card and this is not some sort of hoax, it's very bizarre behavior, don't you agree? Anyway, let's jump to our song, Wake Up. I'll be back momentarily.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okie doke, let's continue on. Let us demand the truth. First thing up here, we're going to go to Ron Paul. This is Ron Paul's weekly update. We didn't catch it yesterday, but we're catching it today. Here we go.
December 19th. The economic establishment in this country has come to the conclusion that it is not a matter of if the United States must intervene in the bailout of the euro, but simply a question of when and how. Newspaper articles and editorials are full of assertions that the breakup of the euro would result in a worldwide depression and that economic assistance to Europe is the only way to stave off this calamity. These assertions are yet again more scaremongering, just as we witnessed during the depths of the 2008 financial crisis. After just a decade of the euro, people have forgotten that Europe functioned for centuries without a common currency. The real cause of economic depression is loose monetary policy, the creation of money and credit out of thin air, and the monetization of government debt by a central bank. This inflationary monetary policy is the cause of every boom and bust. Yet it is precisely what political and economic elites, both in Europe and the United States, are prescribing as a resolution for the present crisis. The drastic next step being discussed is a multi-trillion-dollar bailout of Europe by the European Central Bank, aided by the IMF and the Federal Reserve. The euro was built on an unstable foundation. Its creators established a dollar-like currency for Europe while forgetting that it took nearly 2 centuries for the dollar to devolve from a defined unit of silver to a completely unbacked fiat currency note. The euro had no such history, and from the outset was a purely fiat system. Thus, it is not surprising to followers of Austrian economics that it barely survived a decade and is now completely collapsing. Europe's economic depression is the result of the euro's very structure, a fiat money system that allowed member governments to spend themselves into oblivion and expect that someone else would pick up the tab. A bailout of European banks by the European Central Bank and the Federal Reserve will exacerbate the crisis rather than alleviate it. What is needed is for bad debts to be liquidated. Banks that invested in sovereign debt need to take their losses rather than socializing those losses and prolonging the process of adjusting their balance sheets to reflect reality. If this were done, the correction would be painful but quick, like tearing off a large Band-Aid, but this is necessary to get back on solid economic footing. Until the correction takes place, there can be no recovery. Bailing out profligate European governments will only ensure that no correction will take place. A multi-trillion-dollar European aid package cannot be undertaken by Europe alone and will require IMF and Federal Reserve involvement. The Federal Reserve already has pumped trillions of dollars into the U.S. economy with nothing to show for it. Just considering Fed involvement in Europe is ludicrous. The U.S. economy is in horrible shape precisely because of too much government debt and too much money creation, and the European economy is destined to flounder for the same reasons. We have an unsustainable amount of debt here at home. It is hardly fair to U.S. taxpayers to take on Europe's debt as well. That will only ensure an accelerated erosion of the dollar and a lower standard of living for all Americans. Thanks for calling this update. A new update is placed on this number, 888-322-1414, every Monday. The written text can be found on my website, www.house.gov/Paul, under the heading Texas Straight Talk. Thanks for calling.
All right, very good. So there you go. That's our weekly update from Ron Paul. Now, we're not done with Ron Paul information, so stay tuned. Here's some more. This one is Ron Paul's secret weapon, us. That's right. The people have to rise, and the reason the people are rising right now and why Ron Paul is doing so well is because he's speaking truth. He's not standing up on stage flip-flopping back and forth. So let's check this one out here. I want you to see what this one's all about. Here we go.
I want to make sure everybody knows how much I appreciate all this hard work and how important this Phone from Home program is. It's one of our secret weapons. Most people recognize how important the internet is in both getting our message out and raising funds, but they don't know a whole lot about this phoning from home, and just literally thousands have signed up, and already well over 100,000 people have been contacted. So this is vital, and everybody who has participated already, they need to be deeply thanked and realize how important this is. And we're down to the wire for our first major part of our campaign. Of course, January is a very, very important month to find out what's going to happen. But I think the other thing that I have emphasized, sometimes I'm talking to myself about this, but when we do things in campaign, because it is hard work, and I know this phone calling is hard work, But we need to have a little fun doing it, and just associating with other people that are doing this can be very exciting. I'll tell you what, when the real excitement comes is when we do very, very well on these early primaries. From which you came, you will relate more to me. Sometimes, every once in a while, you might notice we come up a little short on the mainstream media, the news. We don't quite get our fair share of time on the debates. But we can make up for it because we have the message, we have the enthusiasm, we have the volunteers, and there's been many who have signed up, and they just quite haven't gotten involved in this yet. So we really need the help of everybody to get busy here in this last month. It will make a difference. Thank you very much for all the work you've done, and keep going, because January is an important month, and we have already identified a lot of people. We need a lot more, though, to guarantee victory.
All right, very good. Ron Paul is making a difference in the polls. He's certainly making a difference in the conversation that is going on out there. It's always interesting to watch the faces of the other candidates when he's answering, because they just seem dumbfounded. They don't seem to have the same type of game plan that he has, and because of that, it really shows. Now, one of the things Ron said was that the mainstream media is not helping a lot, and he's absolutely correct. The mainstream media, well, they're afraid of Ron Paul. You know, ironically, if you've been paying attention, if you watch the mainstream news, you've heard them for a long time talk about the Iowa caucuses, how important these are, and how this sets the tone for many of the other events that are going to be taking place politically. That if someone wins in Iowa, that usually they're having a good opportunity to win the overall nomination. Well, they kept saying that because they had their candidates, the Herman Cains and the Mitt Romneys and the Newt Gingriches, and they were out in the lead, and all you kept hearing from the mainstream was how important the Iowa caucus was. But then something happened. Ron Paul got up in the lead. And suddenly, after months and months and months, and years and years and years telling you how important the Iowa caucuses are, suddenly that changed, because Ron Paul pulled into the front, and Chris Wallace said, if Ron Paul wins, then it really doesn't count. Okay. Now we've got this story here. Here's another one. This is to show that the establishment is afraid. This is from the Iowa governor. If Ron Paul wins, ignore it and look at who finishes second. From rightly heralding the Iowa primary as the crucial indicator as to who will eventually capture the GOP nomination, the establishment has now closed ranks and has now decided that a Ron Paul victory doesn't count, and that the focus will be on who finishes second. A political article entitled "Ron Paul Panic Seizes Iowa's Establishment Perfectly" illustrates the supreme arrogance of the very political elite Paul is fighting against, and goes a step beyond. Fox pundit's Chris Wallace insistent that Iowa result won't count if Ron Paul wins, despite the fact that the two out of the last three winners of the Iowa primary have gone on to successfully capture the Republican nomination. The political class have decided that Ron Paul doesn't deserve the opportunity to build the same kind of momentum, and that a victory for him in Iowa would do irreparable harm to the future role of the first-in-nation caucuses. The hierarchy is so petrified at the possibility of a Ron Paul win that the state's own governor, Terry Branstad, has preempted the result by urging people to ignore Paul if he secures a first-place finish, and instead concentrate on who comes second. And of course, in this country, part of the problem is, instead of having a president who should be first, we've been concentrating on the presidents who have been second, third, fourth, and fifth. Isn't it time we have a president in this country who is actually the best president? Not the one who has the right skin color for the most amount of people that are voting for him. Not the one who is the biggest warmonger out there for all of those who want a warmonger. Not the president who's going to destroy the Constitution, but actually a president who's going to tell the truth stand up for the Constitution and represent the people in the way that they want to be represented. Isn't it time that the United States had a president like that? Certainly is, but the mainstream media doesn't want that to get out. Because if you look behind the mainstream media, you're going to find sponsors, investors, corporate America. And when you look and see who these investors are, who these corporate American offices and businesses are, you're going to find companies that are connected with war. And you're going to realize at that point that the war companies that are making weapons and making products of war and for war are going to be out of business if there isn't war. And since the war machine funds the media, the mainstream media has to go in line and just repeat what it is that they tell them. Because generally the mainstream media, the Chris Wallaces and the Bill O'Reillys, they don't think for themselves. They're just mindless drones spitting out words that the government gives them. I guess they're slaves or puppets. I guess that's what you would call someone like that goes along mindlessly and doesn't think for themselves. So that's what's going on. The mainstream media is afraid. Let me bring you up to this quote here. Refresh your mind on this quote from Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Mohandas Gandhi. Okay? And isn't that what's going on? Isn't this really what's going on? First they're trying to ignore Ron Paul, then they've laughed at Ron Paul, and now they're trying to fight Ron Paul, and you're going to probably see a bunch of things coming out because now that Ron Paul has actually taken the lead in Iowa, now the mainstream is really going to come out and try to attack him. I'm sure they're already doing it on all the channels this morning in the course of this week. Just prepare. They're going to do more because that's what they do. They don't want to put the right person in office because it jeopardizes all their lives. And they want to keep lying, and that is why they want to keep the truth seeker and the person who spreads the truth out of office, because it would jeopardize their lives. All right? Now, here's one of the crazy things that the White House says, speaking of White House lies. Remember the wars? Actually, and it's hard for me to say wars because what happened after 9/11 wasn't a war, it was an invasion. Congress didn't get together and vote and put a declaration of war together. We were told that there were weapons over there, which there weren't weapons the way that they said that there were. It was a big lie. There was a lot of soldiers that went and fought, a lot of them that died needlessly, a lot of them that were injured needlessly, all fighting against the enemies that we were told were the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. For years and years and years, the battles waged. But now, the Vice President of the United States says that the Taliban isn't U.S. enemy. Well, there's going to be a lot of troops that are going to be really upset by that. Troops that have lost their lives, lost their friends and brothers. Soldiers that have gone out and been wounded, maimed for life because they were fighting the Taliban. Now you've got a vice president who says the Taliban isn't the enemy. Well, the White House on Monday defended Vice President Joe Biden for saying that the Taliban isn't an enemy of the United States, despite the years spent fighting the militant Islamic group that gave home to Al-Qaeda and its leaders Osama bin Laden, while he plotted the September 11 terror attacks. It's only regrettable that when taken out of context, White House spokesperson Jay Carney said of the Vice President's remarks in an interview published Monday, "It's a simple fact that we went into Afghanistan because of the attack in the United States on September 11th. 2011, we are now there to ultimately defeat Al-Qaeda, to stabilize Afghanistan and stabilize it in part so that Al-Qaeda or other terrorists who have the aim to attack the United States cannot establish a foothold again in that country." Carney, you know, don't you, when you go to a Carney, didn't you have the Carney is the guy who calls it out? The Barker, isn't that the guy who's, yeah, that's the White House guy, a Carney. And it just goes to show the circus that the White House is. Now let's take a look at this. It is a simple fact that they went to Afghanistan because of the attack on the United States. Yes, there was an attack on the United States. However, the attack on the United States was a false flag operation, and it was inflicted by members within the own United States government themselves in conjunction with others from around the world, but it was an inside job. So okay, they did go into Afghanistan. It says now we are there now to ultimately defeat Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda being the database of terrorists that the CIA created to assist the Mujahideen. So they're now there to defeat the CIA's database, to stable Afghanistan and stable it so that the CIA database or other terrorists that possibly the CIA has trained who have their aims on the United States cannot establish a foothold. Well, my friends, they've already established a foothold. Okay? The ones who are causing the problems are in the government. They have a very strong foothold. They're the same ones who are going out there and telling the world how to live, but at the same time creating wars and creating problems. And here in the United States of America, they've created the National Defense Authorization Act in order to point the finger at American citizens. So by saying that the Taliban isn't the enemy isn't surprising in light of the fact that they now have the National Defense Authorization Act, which is going to say that Americans are the enemy. It's slowly bringing it around. We have these unprofessional, uninformed leaders who are just so out of touch with what's going on in the world that they make these stupid comments. But within them, there are bits of truth because it does reveal their personality, what they're really about. Alright, so I'm going to ask you to read this article and try not to laugh too hard. I know that it's not really funny, but to hear all these stupid comments that you get these jokers in the White House saying all the time, it's beyond funny. Okay? Now, moving right along from there, let's take a look at the weather. This is a blizzard watch, and this comes to us from Dutch Since.
Good morning, everybody. Dutch Sense here. It is 5:23 a.m. Central Time on Tuesday, December 20th, 2011. And we're looking at a telecast here. Continental radar view turned on. Also have the current storm warnings turned on. And you can see the blizzard warnings are still in effect for the central Midwest, going right up into northwestern Missouri. And the storm is moving east, and there's been a series of strong cells popping off down here to the south. Let me go ahead and turn on the severe warnings, and you'll be able to see where that is. Okay, we have a severe thunderstorm warning, which means it is confirmed severe thunderstorm, and that's passing into Louisiana, and it's heading to the northeast towards Alexandria. So that's been popping in between damaging winds and possible tornadoes for the last hour or so. And as you get north, let me turn the winter warnings back on. And again, you can see your states, so if you live in any one of these areas, travel precautions for sure. And as we get to the northwest, you can see winter weather advisory from 8 p.m. this evening to 5 p.m. Wednesday. Now that's the coming system, and I'm going to link down below to the video I made a day and a half, 2 days ago, showing this large low pressure system up here to the north. And it was coming down, so they do have winter storm warnings in effect for this area up here as the storm comes down from the northwest. So we have two dueling systems. Pay heed to the warnings if you have them in your area, and I will put links down below so you can monitor the situation yourself. All right. Hang in there, folks.
Alright, very good. So if you're traveling this holiday season, there you go. Pay attention to the weather because that is important. Alright, the last story before we get into our meditation is going to come to us from RT and Alana. This is about Occupation Wall Street. Now, maybe you thought it was over, but it isn't. They're going into their third month now since the occupation began. Let's take a look at what this is. Hear what she has to say.
Over the past month, we've reported on police departments from Oakland to Los Angeles, which have raided Occupy encampments that have previously been allowed to stand, evicting people who for months have made makeshift tent cities their homes. Now, this past Saturday marked the 3-month anniversary of a very different-looking Occupy Wall Street movement. And despite the fact that many cities have lost those encampments, those who started the demonstrations called on their peers to keep the protests alive. The action was labeled Occupation 2.0, and it called on demonstrators to reassemble near the original Zuccotti Park site to continue their public opposition to corporate greed and the growing gap between the 1% and the 99%. So hundreds of protesters showed up at Duarte Square, including a smaller group of demonstrators who are on day 15 of a hunger strike. Now, those who were in Duarte Square attempted to take over nearby Trinity Wall Street Church, who helped the Occupy Wall Street movement in its earlier days. When the demonstrators tried to seek sanctuary on the church's property, they were met by several police officers who promptly began arresting people. About 50 people were arrested as they tried to scale a fence that restricted the property surrounding Trinity Church. And that wasn't the only place that people were assembling in New York City. About 200 people gathered on 7th Avenue to march towards Times Square. And as they continued their peaceful calls for change, at least 2 people were arrested by police, while the rest remained under close police surveillance. New York isn't the only place trying to keep the movement alive. There's still a strong presence at a handful of locations like Nashville, Denver, and D.C. That's right. Here in D.C., the occupiers at McPherson Square are still going strong. So earlier today, we sent producer Patrice Innocenti down to the street to get their take on what they're doing to keep the movement alive.
It's only going to get better, and it's only going to get bigger, and more people are coming, and we're going to do more marches, more actions, more outreach to the community.
Because we're only 3 months in it, you know, and it takes a long time to really transition the movement, but this is a very hot movement what the occupiers doing.
We are one of the last standing encampments, so people are starting to realize how critical this encampment is.
We got elections in 1 more year, they're getting ready for it, we getting ready for them.
This is a nation's capital, and this is where a lot of the oppression is happening, you know, here, and like people that I think that's one of the reasons why people come like to DC.
Everybody's working hard to winterize, you know, everybody is a little bit nervous about it.
But I think the weather is actually going to weed out the serious from the not. I mean, if you don't know how to live out here, you shouldn't be out here.
A lot of people have left, but as they've left, we've had more people to come in. So a bunch of people, for example, went to Occupy Miami. So, you know, that's fine. And then we got New Yorkers and Bostonites instead.
Come here. We're winterizing. We got generators. We got battery pack, solar heating systems.
We're lasting it through. Rain, sleet, hail, snow. Occupy will never go.
Now, we should note that cities that used to have a strong public presence, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boston, and Dallas, can't technically set up camp anymore. However, they're still carrying on with regular meetings amongst organizers to keep their message alive. They've also been participating in more targeted actions. We've covered the Occupy Our Homes action, which brought occupiers to foreclosed homes across the city, as well as the action along the West Coast to shut down ports. And frankly, this more focused Occupy might become the new norm. Perhaps the occupation of public parks are just a stepping stone for this movement, which has clearly moved on to a new phase and a new form as the 3rd month of Occupy begins.
All right, very good. See, the movement's not going to die because it's an idea. And ideas are bulletproof. And there's so many more people on this planet than there are those that are trying to cause the problems. So just when they think they've closed something off, there'll be another group that will open up somewhere else and pop up. That's what's going to keep happening because there are more of us than there are of them. We are the people. We've got the power. That's the important thing to know, my friends. All right, let's jump in. Let's do a meditation. Close things out for today. All right. This meditation today is very simple. Let's activate all of our chakras. Bottom of the spine, imagine the color red and imagine the energy being drawn into it from the earth. Let the energy raise up higher to the chakra above it, right at the belly button, the emotional center. The color is orange. Imagine the color orange as the energy rises from the first chakra to the second chakra. Then imagine the energy rising from the second orange color chakra up to the chakra above it, just below the rib cage, and imagine the color yellow. From there, let the energy continue up into the heart. Imagine the color now green. From the green heart chakra, the energy goes up further into the throat. Imagine the color blue. From the blue throat chakra, go up to the third eye. Imagine in violet. And then finally to the top of the head, imagine the color indigo. The light continues on into the cosmos as bright white light. Allow all this energy within you to overflow your body till you see the line of light around you. This is your spiritual armor of protection. Extend that light and protection out into your living environment, your neighborhood, your city, state. Just imagine that light joining with all the other lights of protection going all around the country and then around the world. Imagine yourself walking now along the path of life, and you see people from all around the world, all walks of life, all colors, all creeds, walking down the path of life, getting along with each other, sharing stories, experiences, and just interacting with each other. And we realize this is how it is all the time, that we were given the opportunities to love, to learn, to be. And as we exercise our beingness, our lovingness, we evolve, we change. Let's just imagine sending love all around the planet, people all around the world. Imagine feeling the love being sent to you from beings all around the world right now. And let's bring then our energy and attention back to the present moment. And as we do, think a good thought for everybody around the planet. And let's do so on the count of three. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it, my friends. That is the end of the show, the prayer, the meditation. Just pay attention as you go out there in the world today, my friends. You know, the holiday season is upon us. A lot of people are out there celebrating, preparing, as you should be, because it is important to take time out for family and for friends. But just know at the same time, there are those diabolical individuals that use these down times as an opportunity to take advantage of others. This is what the governments of the world are doing to the people around the world. They have the mentality that they are the elite and everybody else should be serving them. They have forgotten their positions of serving the people. And it's important that the people remind them of such things, because there are millions of more people. And when the people stand up and rise up against the injustice, well, the injustice needs to listen. The governments need to listen, and the people need to listen. There's a lot of change in the air, my friends. 2012 is upon us, and that time certainly promises to be a big time of change. So maybe the elites, maybe those in power are getting ready for whatever that might be. Anyway, we'll talk more about that next time. In the meantime, go out there today. Have a good day. Enjoy your time if this is your week off. And I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Peace. I'm out of here.